Okay, so in this short tutorial, I was asked to do this by a friend of mine. We're actually going over some of the sonic qualities of a lot of these harmonic plugins. So what I wanted to do was make a short kind of tutorial, kind of overviewing the effects of harmonic distortion and the sound, because very few people on any channels that I've found at least, they fail to give you both. They fail to show you on a spectrum analyzer exactly the effects of the plugins that you're actually inserting on your audio and exactly the repro or the reproduction of what that is. So basically in this tutorial, as you can see here, what I've done is in my previous tutorial I had a superior drummer instance here which is routed to this bus, and then I have several emulation plugins, and look at my previous video to see how that went. But what I've done in this to give you an A and B comparison is that I've actually duplicated this channel. So as you can see, I have a test tone oscillator here, which I'll bring up. So we're generating a sine wave well, at first I went at 500 hertz, but I'm actually lowering that to 200 hertz because we want to look at the low end signature of that against just basically a clean slate. So the test tone is going to be generated here on this channel, which is actually muted out. So if I unmute it, you can hear that that's actually 200, and you can actually see it here. And if you look at the analyzer, we can actually see that it's generating that. So if I turn that off, we can actually see over here. And then the pictogram, of course, is decaying it just kind of as a peak hold. So we're going to turn that on. This is going to be our point of reference. So we have 200 hertz registering over here, and then what we're going to do is that we're going to bring in these plugins that I've actually copied for both channels, and one channel has the test tone oscillator, and then we're actually going to listen to a copy of that through the plugin, so we can visually see when we bring a plugin in on the test tone oscillator the peak transients for the odd and even harmonics, and then we'll be able to hear what that sounds like up here. So this spectrum analyzer basically shows us exactly. So I'll bring up batter here just to show you. I've got this kit here, and I'll actually just play it. And this is a beat here, and as you can see, it's playing through this spectrum analyzer. And right now it's got nothing that it's going through. So I'm soloing just a kick from that. So we can see the frequency response of that kick. So in relation to it, you can actually visually see right now what's going on. So what I'll do is I'll start it over and we'll play the kick. So the test tone oscillator is going 100% of the time. So for instance, we'll start off with the satin. A very popular plugin. I actually like this one myself. Very, very articulate. I'm going to start off with this in bypass mode. So we're going to bypass basically the tape section of this plugin. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to bring this up here. So let's go ahead and bring up satin here. And then we're just going to turn it on. So like I said, these are duplicates of each other. So if I go ahead and turn this on the spectrum, we can see what this is doing. So the tape portion of this, as we can see, it's exciting the low and high end above the given frequency that we have. It's exciting everything. As we can see, it's not standing still. So I mean, it's just as soon as you turn it on, and if we zoom in a little bit closer, we can actually see it's actually exciting everything in even harmonics. If we look close enough, we can see it's actually generating even harmonics. So if we go ahead and turn that on over here as well, now we'll go ahead and run this audio through it and see up here what this actually sounds like. So what I'll do is we'll start off here, and then I'll just take it in and out. So this is without. I'll bring it in. Take it out again. And bring it back in. Now what I'm hearing is the saturation is causing the high register to be more definite. It's giving the sound more presence, even though it sounds like the sound is getting louder when it's actually not, but it's opening the sound up a lot more, is what I'm hearing from it. And it's very subtly bringing out the frequency range by, now of course in context, now if we take this and we play the whole kit, so let's bring in more than just one element, so we'll go ahead and play the same thing. Now this is with it in. Now we'll take it out here in a second. And we'll bring it in. Just makes it a little tighter. I mean, it's very subtle. Obviously, it's not huge. It's not a huge difference. It's very subtle what it's doing, but you can definitely hear it. And I think it's more present when the more things that you sum together in the box, you can start to hear it a little bit more. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and turn these two off. The test tone oscillator is still going, and we'll reset that, and now we'll go down to, this is one of my favorites actually, it's a new one by Waves, the Saphira, the Cobalt. So we'll go ahead and we'll view the audio signal. So I'll go ahead and turn on the Cobalt, and as you can see, we'll go ahead and view this one. We can actually see here the harmonics, and it's actually registering. So 200, 400, 6, so on and so on. So now this particular plugin I like because it gives you both even and odd, which you can actually turn on and off. So if I actually use this one here, and we actually can see the even and odd harmonics turning on and off. I actually like this one because you can blend a little bit more of each one in, and then you can also, with the EQ and tape settings, add a little bit more warmth and tape saturation. But let's go ahead and do the same thing. So that's what it looks like, and then we'll go ahead and turn this on, and we'll A and B it. So I'll actually take it out first, and then we'll bring it in here at the 5. And we can immediately hear the upper registers. We can hear it exciting the 6, the 4 and 6, and we know that because if we take out, we can hear how it's exciting. Which, you know, either you could want that or not want that. It depends on the sound. So we'll take it out. But as you can see, the high end drops out. And then when you bring this in, you can hear more of the upper register right here. and then we'll come back. So now we'll go to the next one of my favorites. This is the VBC rack, and this is just straight through. As you can see, all the thresholds are completely down. And we'll go ahead and turn on the VBC and the analyzer down here. And as you can see, once again, it's the same thing. 2, 4. It's adding. Now, one thing I do notice with the Slate, all the Slate products is that if you look at the low register, watch when the analyzer is off, you're getting a slight bump on the low end. You know, just off the bat, that low end is getting bumped just a little bit. And like I said, maybe you might want that, but so we'll go ahead and run the kick again, and we'll bring in the Slate. I mean, the Slate really just cleans that sound up a lot. Even with it being gain stage, it just sounds sonically better. So bring it in. So I'm going to go in and out here. So I think the Slate actually sounds really good, but we can see what it's doing here. It's all even harmonics. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. So here's another popular one, the saturation knob by Softtube. A lot of people use this, especially like on bass sounds, a lot of low end. So let's see what the analyzer says about the saturation tube. So we'll go ahead and turn that on, and good Lord. So yeah, this thing is just flurried. But if we look at the peaks on all of these, they're still even 6. Well, actually, as we get in the higher registers, it's going even odd. So in the lower registers, it's even, and then as we get higher, it's even odd, even odd, even odd, even odd. But let's go ahead and do the same thing with this. So we'll play the kick. And bring it in. And that's, as you can hear, it's boosting a lot of low frequency. And that's why I'm flipping the analyzer. Look at how much low end that saturation knob is adding. And this is actually jumping around a lot. So, and you know, maybe you might want that, but that's, to me, that's a little extreme. Um, So I wouldn't want that, you know, unless, you know, like I said, the sound calls for it. But as you can see, that's putting a lot of low in. So here's another one of my personal favorites that I use a lot, and I've over exaggerated the. This is the Waves and LS single channel, and then I also have the bus as well. So we'll see what the channel is doing. And again, it's boosting the low end, but of course I have it cranked all the way up. But the saturation tube, just for reference, the saturation tube I didn't even have cranked all the way up, and it was causing just lots of low end. This is, you know, this is exaggerated a bunch, but as we see, the same sort of thing. I think you know, 2, 4, you know, I can't pinpoint these, 6. These are all on, you know, even scale. Same thing, so we'll play this, and we'll go ahead and bring it in. Same thing, it just gives body. As you can hear, a lot more body, roundness in the sound. And all this has been, I've gain matched everything, so it sounds like it's getting louder, but it's not. It's all gain matched. But that kick drum just sounds fuller, bigger. All right, so and then last but not least, we'll do the NLS bus. This is the summing mixer that they have. It's the summing variant of the channel. So it's kind of built for summing. And I, of course, gain matched all of this. I left all the noise flooring in and everything. But as you can see, this gives a lot more saturation on the low end, and then it's giving you a little bit of even and odd harmonics. We can see that right here. You know, evens, and then the odds are in between. Same thing, so we'll play the kick. And bring it in on the 5. And out. Okay, so now what we'll do is we're going to actually play the whole track. So we'll give you a more detailed, version. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and unmute all of these here, and we're going to just play the whole beat. We're just going to let the beat play here for a second. And while it's playing, I'm going to bring in the different saturations. So we'll start with the satin. So I'm not going to tweak any settings. This is just going straight through. Like I said, with no decoding or anything. This is just straight in. I don't want to tweak anything, just leave it default. Like I said, I'm hearing some glue with this tape emulation here. Like if I bypass the tape, we can hear how the tape is gluing everything together a little bit more. And taming a lot of those highs. So audio, we'll go back to clean. Take this off the analyzer, let this refresh. Now we're bringing the Saphira. Of course, that's what it looks like. Bring up the GUI. I'm bringing it on the 1. Let's try again. And like I said, this is just, they call this preset a good place to start. So I haven't really messed with anything. This is just a good starting point. So the thing to note about this one is that there's a lot of different ways you can go with this one. So I could trim this out. I could take some of the evens out or the odds, a little bit more of each. So it's kind of just more of a straight up comparison. Here's that VBC. Here's on the Spectrum. I'm just going to bring it in on the 1. as you can hear, and this is why this is one of my favorite plugins, how it does a little bit of everything. I mean, the definition is all the way through, is clean. It added more punch. And for that reason, here's what we're going to do. At this spectrum scale, I'm actually going to pause it here, and we're actually going to go more in depth. So I'm going to pull up the VBC on the test tone oscillator with nothing playing. We're going to actually look at the individual rack units. So we're going to actually turn everything off. So there it is. As we can see, there's our 200. And then we're going to turn on each compressor and see what each compressor is actually doing. Each signal path of each compressor. So let's turn on the gray. See, so the gray is giving us, looks like even harmonics. Okay, but only a couple of steps. Boosting a little bit of low end, but all of the slate stuff seems to do that. Now we're going to turn the gray off. Let's turn on the red. And see, so the red is more of just a straight up compressor. And this is, but as you see, I wasn't compressing anything on the drums, but it is boosting a little bit of low end, and then it looks like it's trying to raise a little bit of odd here. I can't really tell. I'd have to really zoom in, but as we can see, there's really no. And then, of course, the mu is just giving us a little bit more. But see that low end. So the combination of the three, let's turn them all on, looks something like this. But a really good sounding, and that's just, like I said, this is just straight through with nothing actually being compressed. This is just running right through the circuitry. This is what it looks like. But a great sound, in my opinion. All right, so let's turn that off, and then let's go and play the beat again. So now here's with the saturation knob. So there it is again, and so this does a lot. So we'll listen to what it sounds like on the whole kit. Bring down the 1. And that actually sounds pretty good too. It fattens everything up. Now, of course, if I had some, some hats and other things going in there, this may be a little bit too much. And because it's just a saturation knob, there's really no controls, other than focusing more on the lows or highs. Depends. I mean, this obviously wouldn't be a go-all. It's a little extreme, but it still sounds pretty good. The saturation sounds, but as we can see, it's a little bit of more even in the lower register, and then focused to be more even and odd in the high register. So we'll go to, let that calm down for a second, and then we'll pull up the NLS. And we can see what it's doing. Again, evens. And then on the whole drum kit, let's see what that sounds like. And bringing it on the 1. As you can see, just more body, way more body in the signal. It just gives more sonic character and body to the sound. As you can see, more presence here. We'll turn that off. And now we'll do last but not least the bus. And this is, more for summing, so if these drums were actually on individual channels, it would probably work even better, but we'll just do it on this kit. We'll do it on the 5. And just like the Saphira, you can hear the odd harmonics kind of exciting the high end of the bass drum. And for this particular drum sound, I don't think it's desirable. But you can see that's what it's doing. You can hear it. So just wanted to do that for now, and the other thing I wanted to do was really fast is let's show off the satin. So we'll put the satin, bring the satin back up, and we're actually going to go through here and we're going to tweak this up a little bit. And the one thing I like about the satin is it has automatic gain matching. So once you set the output, everything is pretty much gain matched as you go through. So I'll show you a little bit more of the versatility on this particular plugin. So what we'll do is now we'll actually, let's bypass that tape. And we're actually going to hit this a little bit harder. So let's bring it in. So let's experiment with it. Let's add a little bit of bump on the repo head. Then for a little bit of glue, let's choose same as the encoder. Let's go ahead and encode this. Kind of hear how the different encodings do different things. You can even change the circuits. So we've got a 30 IPS, bring up that high end a little bit. it. On the 15 IPs. Go a little bit more modern. So now let's take out the encoder. And then now we'll just use this more like a compressor. So we'll try to saturate this. So we'll take out the tape and try to just push the tape head on the input. Try to overdrive it a little bit. Here's more of a traditional sound at 15 IPs. But you can hear the glue big time. So really interesting, and really interesting when you compare the two. So come back later and we'll talk more about the separation and applying these on multiple tracks. So we'll try to do that in another video, but I just kind of wanted to do this video to kind of have a comparison of actually showing what's happening and listening at the same time. So hope that does it. Thanks.